All right, Jonathan, what are we talking about today?
This week in tech history, we are doing June 7th through the 13th, and we have a really geeky modern technology patented on June 7th.
Really geeky modem
Oh, modem.
technology. The modem. This was, if you wanted to use the internet, you had to have a modem. You remember in some previous segments, Jonathan, we were talking about all the different components that make up the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
They titled Tim Berners-Lee, or as people call them, TBL. They gave him they knighted him in England. They gave him some US award or some kind of engineering award 25 years after he came up with the technology. And they called him the person who invented the internet. Remember that?
Yeah.
But here's another piece of technology that played a huge part in the internet. Because in order for you to be able to access the internet, you had to have a service called Internet Service Provider. And before broadband came on, you had to sign up through a modem. So you paid $20 a month to get a trickle of internet drops through a phone line. I mean, I think this was a smart modem 300. Man, I can't even tell you how fast this was, or I can't even tell you how slow it was. This is 1983.
Wow.
Before the internet was born. And so, man, 300 baud rate, I don't know. I mean, we're talking about, oh gosh, if you had to send an email, it would probably take as long as it takes today to download a Netflix movie.
Oh, wow.
Send that email. I'm guessing. I'm just, that's how slow this was. You could start streaming immediately. But back then, you send an email, you had to sit there and send it and probably wait a minute before it actually sent. And I'm talking about an email, a sizable email, maybe, I don't know, 100 words, 150 words, maybe. It would take as much as it would take to begin streaming a movie nowadays. That's the difference in speed.
And people thought that was fast. Like, whoa, we're connecting through wires.
Well, I mean, yeah, because when I first got on the internet, I bought a 3600. Was it 3600 baud rate or 3600 kilobits? It might have been a 3600 kilobits. And then, like a month or two later, I bought the 3600 kilobit modem on a sale. I mean, it was like a killer price back then. And then like a month or two later, the 56 or the 57K, 56K, I think it was, which didn't make sense to me because it's like you would think twice the speed. Well, that's 64, right? But it was 57 or 56. It's like, how did they even come up with that number? But we thought, man, that's twice the speed. We can get on the internet so much faster, communicate, quicker. And then came ISDN, I believe it was, which was 128 kilobytes. And we're like, yeah, now we're on a fast lane, 128 kilobytes per second. We're moving. This is like a Ferrari on the Autobahn. And then came DSL. And DSL was allowing you to do up to, depending on how far away you were from the point of presence, or what they call the POP or the CO. Maybe it was the CO. It was actually the CO. How far away were you from the CO, which was the central office, would determine the speed that you got. And you can go up to 600 kilobits. And yeah, and then came broadband, man, it's like what, I mean, if I was to do a test speed, I think I'm getting like 200 gigabits per second.
Wow, yeah.
It just blows the pants out of this technology here. And people used to pay big prices every month to be able to get on the internet. It was priceless.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. On June 7th, the breakup of Microsoft that never happened.
What is this talking about?
Where did they break up?
Yeah, so they wanted to break it up into two corporations because the government was worried that Microsoft was just going to take over the world by having an operating system which dominates the world and developing applications for that operating system. Now, in 2000, I think Bill Gates was still CEO, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Gates was still CEO. And so I think between Bill Gates and, what's the other guy's name? Who was the CEO after Bill Gates? I forget his name. But I think they wanted to, like, everything that they developed just like had to run on Windows. And so they were like really encouraging developers to develop for Windows to kind of drown out any other operating system. So Apple, they were trying to keep things from going over to Apple and vice versa. And Linux was still on the rise. Linux kernel came up on the scene, but you still had to be like a pretty like well versed in being able to install the operating system because it wasn't that easy. So they were winning the battle. And so people were like, yeah, no, this is like unfair. It's like you have to break these companies up and they have to compete against each other or something like that. I forget. But eventually, I think their competition began to really take off. And the district, the judge, the judge, like, yeah, this Microsoft is going to dwindle away at some point. And yeah, I mean, their operating system is now free. You can actually download and install it, and you get the badge of shame that says, hey, you have to activate Windows, but it still works. You can still continue working with it. You can, they become more of a software provider and software services. So that's what that breakup that never happened was all about.
Wow. All right. Next, we have on June 8th, one processor to rule them all.
What? This is back in 1978?
Whoa. Old school.
Tell me about it. So Intel's been around for a while. A 16-bit, is that how many bits this has? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I'm thinking each one of these represents a bit, and maybe these 4 extra are power.
Okay.
Power, maybe some diagnostic pins. That's probably what I'm thinking. I'm not sure exactly how these pins play part in the bitness, if that's a word. But the 8086 processor exists to this day. So this architecture went from a 16-bit to a 32-bit to a 64-bit. And I believe that now they're working on 128-bit.
Wow.
But now they just call them an x86 family of processors. And the Pentium, the Xeon, the AMD, what is the AMD, the one that Gerard always says is like...
Oh, the Ryzen?
The Ryzen. they're all based on this same architecture from back in 1978.
Wow.
So a lot of things that are new today are from old technology.
That's super old too.
It is, yeah. Um, what did we talk about? We talked about something recently. Well, I mean, just take a look at the World Wide Web, right? The internet. It's based on HTML that was created back in 1991. It hasn't changed. Things have been added, but it hasn't changed. Like we're still using that, but we're just becoming innovative and we introduce new ways of using it. The API that we wrote for Significant, that's based on technology from 1991. And we're still using that technology.
Yeah.
People introduced it as like, ooh, RESTful APIs, and it's like, this is like the new shiny toy. All they did was take it out of an old rusty box and shined it up, and it's like, hey, look, it's new, And so, but yeah, this is a lot of old is becoming new again.
Cool. Next, we have on June 9th, Life Finds a Way.
Oh, what do you remember about this movie?
I remember that you can clone a dinosaur from a mosquito blood that sucked a dinosaur millions of years ago.
Is that what the movie was based on, like that?
Yeah.
Oh,
They
wow.
found a mosquito inside like amber. I guess it got like melted in lava or something.
Oh, interesting.
That sucked dinosaurs' blood millions of years ago. And now they're doing it today with mammoths.
I have a feeling that there's some truthness to this. And we're gonna see a dinosaur being recreated at some. Well, we got dinosaurs existing today. I mean, ostrich is considered a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Chickens are just considered a dinosaur. Yeah, this was one of the. I guess the reason Jurassic Park is such a big movie is because it was one of the first ones that like really interweaved CGI, with live filming. So they generate a lot of imagery.
Yeah, when you go back and watch it,
The what?
nowadays, it looks like really bad CGI too. But back then, you were like, whoa, that's scary.
Yeah, yeah. You remember a like a, a third or fourth part of the movie came out in the movies,
Mhm.
and we watched like the first three parts over a 2-day period, and then we went to the movies, and we were so done with Jurassic Park. We're like, yeah, this is like an overload of Jurassic Park. Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah.
I thought it was such a great idea at the time, but man, it was a horrible idea. All right.
All right. Next, we have on June 10th, Crossing the Atlantic with Cable.
What?
Wow. Transatlantic cable.
Oh, this was for telegraph operation. There's a video on YouTube that talks about what is the internet. And the guy brings out like this picture of like old decrepit copper wire. He's like, and it's like a spaghetti. Like he literally brings out like a picture with like spaghetti looking cables, right? And he goes, you want to know what the internet is? This is the internet here. This is just cables. And then he showed a map of all the cables that are routed from in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
There's like so much cable in the ocean. It's crazy. And he talks about like, yeah, he's like, we can't communicate unless we have these cables. and it really comes down to copper wire. And then I think he said they've gotten better by putting fiber out there, which makes the communication a lot faster. But that's really what it is. It's like the internet is just a bunch of cables. It's nothing magical. You know, it's like the rubber has to hit the road at some point. And in order to communicate, it's like 1858, they've been laying out cables to go across the Atlantic.
Wow.
And they're still doing it to this day. So this is what I talk about, like old technology becomes the new technology. They're like, back then they were like, hey, we need to run a cable for telegraph operations. Today, like, hey, we need to run a cable for internet communication. So yeah, we haven't done a whole lot of advancement on how we communicate. I take that back. I think they're using satellites a lot more too.
Yeah.
So cool.
All right. Next, on June 11th, Speak and Spell.
It says Speak and Spell. Did you ever have this toy?
No. I remember it from Toy Story, though.
Oh, really?
They had one like that on Toy Story, yeah. The Speak and Spell.
Man, look at that mustache on that guy. I think nowadays they call it the 1970s porn star mustache. Texas Instruments. Texas Instruments has been around for a while, and they've like they've come up with a lot of technology to help education. They had a voice chip.
That's cool.
1978. Man, I was 9 years old. I definitely didn't have any of this stuff when I was growing up. You guys had the internet. You didn't need these toys. Nope. What else do we got?
On June 12th, the launch of Verna 4.
Venera. I didn't realize there was so much space technology.
This one entered Venus's atmosphere.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Venus is pretty far, isn't it?
It is farther from the sun than the Earth is.
Yeah. 1967. Wow. That's pretty cool.
All right. Last but not least, we have first man-made object to leave the solar system.
NASA space probe Pioneer 10 crosses orbit of Neptune, becoming the first man-made object to leave the solar system. Oh, so got it. Neptune is the furthest planet?
I thought Pluto was.
I think they downgraded Pluto.
Oh.
From a planet to something else, but let's look at solar system. All right, here's a picture. Let's see here. Is it this one?
Oh yeah, Neptune. Last one.
Yeah, Neptune. Yeah, I think they downgraded Pluto. Man, look how Earth compared to like some of these planets. That's crazy. Man, Mercury is the smallest. Venus is the same size as Earth almost.
Mm-hmm.
Mars is just slightly bigger than Mercury. And freaking Jupiter, wow. This is like marble size to basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball to volleyball. Volleyball to softball, maybe? Not quite a baseball, but softball.
Yeah, Uranus and Neptune kind of look like softballs.
Yeah. So it left our solar system. That's cool.
The last contact was on January 23rd, 2003. Wow.
They lost contact. I think the aliens picked it up. Disabled communication.
They stole Pioneer 10.
They hijacked it. 2.6 AU per year. If Aldebaran had zero relativity velocity, it would take Pioneer 10 about 2 million years to reach it.
Wow.
I wonder if at a certain point, well, I think what probably happened was, I mean, you had solar panels on it, which charged the batteries.
Mm-hmm.
At a certain point, you get so far away from the sun that the batteries just run out.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just no way for it to recharge unless it hits another solar system and it charges from that.
I guess we'll find out in another million years.
Yep. They're going to say, like, we've contacted aliens from outer space. They're like, no. It's like what happened was that back in 83, we sent out a man-made object, and that's what you're communicating with. But humans are not going to know about it. Cool.
That's all we have for history.
Until next time.